Today is Chas Ayin, Hatashin Ayin. This is a sheer quality for Parshas Mishpatim.
So we're turning Parshas Mishpatim to chapter 21, Kof Aleph, Pasuk Yud Ches. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. As you come to be Muslim, the Mazuman, we got a Mazuman. Maybe two Mazumans. There you go.
Three Mazumans.
Oh, you came to a Chasna?
No, I came for Shabbos.
I came for Shabbos.
We have a midget.
Huh?
A midget.
Midget?
No, a minion.
We have a minion?
Yeah.
All right. So, Pasuk Yud Ches tells us, V'chi yirivun anoshim. If mentioned, we'll have a quarrel. People will quarrel. V'hiko ish es riyehu v'even oive greif. And a man will hit his friend. Chas v'shalom. You're not supposed to hit anybody. It's not it's a isa to do that. But the Gemara says in the Sekta Sanhedrin that even if you lift your hand like another person, then you're called a Rosha. As they said, that's when the first thing that Moshe Rabbeinu was mentioned in the Torah. He came out and he saw one Yid hitting her, another Yid, and he said, Ula Rosha Omar Lama Sakeh Rei Echa. And so we see from that they called Misha Meirim Yodeh Al Chaveri Ikre Rosha. So, anyway, I said it in other words, even if you lift your hand on somebody and you didn't hit him, you're called a Rosha. But here we're talking about where somebody did hit him, so the Gemara tells us what's the connection between an Evan and a fist. A Evan means a stone or a grape. In other words, that it has to be a stone that would be enough maybe to kill a person. And it would have to be on a grave. You have to have a fist. If you let it fly heavily, it could possibly kill somebody. However, he didn't die. But he got sick. He fell to hospitals. Nafal to laying down. If he will get up from his illness, and he'll go out on the outside on his stick literally, but Rashi says it doesn't mean his stick, because if he's leaning on his stick, there's a sign he still can't walk properly, he's still sick. But he's able to walk around healthily and normally. That's the way Rashi teaches us. So then the guy who smote him is clean, literally how to call it, he's cleared. That'll be his expression, he's in the clear. So Rashi tells us that up until now he was in the Beis HaMishmor, he was in prison. Because since he hit this fellow in a way that he fell down heavily, then we need to see if he's going to die. And if he dies, then this guy's a murderer. And he's going to have to face a trial for Isa. And therefore we keep him in Beis HaMishmor. Now this is one of the rare places where in the whole Torah it's mentioned the idea of a jail. So you never find, in the actual psukim of the Torah, you never find any mention of a jail. But this is one case where it is mentioned, a jail, and in another case it's mentioned, not in the psukim of the Torah, but Rashi brings down when I get to the Feshay Sheitzim, those in the gathered the wood on Shabbos, way over in Pasha Shlach Lecha and Sefer Bamidbar, that they didn't quite know what was his din, and so Rashi says that until the Eibusha spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, they kept him in Beis HaMishmor. They held him in lockup. So the same way here, this guy was in in lockup, waiting to see if the person he hit was going to die. But since the guy already got up off his bed and he walked outside in a normal way, then he ko hamakeh. So then he's in the clear. Rak shifto yitain. He has to pay the bittul malacha, what the guy wasn't able to work, or had he got his normal income that he would have from his malacha, or his work, or his job. He's got to pay all of that for the whole time he was laying down. The rapoi yirapei, and he has to heal him, let's say. He has to see that he be healed. So what does it mean that he has to see that he be healed? So Rashi says, rapoi yirapei kitargumai. That's like Onkelos says, ve'agar asya yishalem. The schar of the doctor, asya means, in Aramaic means a doctor, he must pay the fees of the doctor who healed this guy. So from that we hear that there's such a thing in the world as a doctor, and that he's allowed to take money for his efforts. And since that's the case, you have to pay him. If you cause this guy, then he doesn't have to pay all the doctor's bills. You've got to pay him because you caused him. So there's altogether 5 things you have to pay. But this is 2 of them that we learned here from this pasuk. One is called sheves, paying all that he missed out in his income, and you have to pay all the medical medical bills of the doctor. Comes along, however, the Gemara in Masechta Brachas and in Masechta Bava Kama, where it deals with this case openly in the Mishnah and the Gemara, and it. By the way, it says over there that just for the sake of the information, the Gemara says in Bava Kama, what about if he says to him, listen, I know a doctor who will look after you for nothing. So does he have the right to say, well, I'll take you to the doctor who will heal you for nothing, and I won't have to pay you all the doctor's bills? So the Gemara says he can't say that. Do you know why? Because the Gemara says a doctor that he heals for free is worth free. He's nothing. In other words, the Gemara says that Ashia, the Rofa, b'mogein, mogein shove. Mogein in Aramaic means chinam. And so if he heals you for nothing, that's what he's worth. That's not a time. He can't do that. So the Gemara over there brings this pasuk, but first of all it's brought down in Masechta Brachas. But that will help us lead in to the center of our inquiry for this evening. Well, it's a Gemara Masechta Brachas, Daf Samach, right near the end of the Masechta. Yeah. And the Gemara says like this: Omer Rav Acha, Omer Rav Acha, Omer Rav, Haniknos lahakis dam. In those days it was a well-known way of healing to let blood. Have you ever heard of it? It's called hakozes dam. The Gemara holds from it very much and recommends it even on certain occasions. That in order to heal a certain place on the body, they will let dam out of another ava, another part of your body. They will let out blood, and that would heal. That would have a healing effect on the other part of the body. Therefore, it's quite an interesting in Chassidus. In Kama Maimorim, the Gemara says that if somebody's got a problem in his foot, infection in his foot, then the best place to let out the dam is in the head, is near the side of the skull, is these veins, is to let out dam. So we see from that the head and the foot are connected together. What you can understand the moral message of that, I don't doubt. And it reminds me of a mitzvah that once happened to me. I was once told that one of our Talmidim, early Talmidim and early Talmidim, it's probably going back a good 30 years ago or more, that he was in Shvat. He was going down to the cave of the Rizal, and he was going down the stairs, and he was limping a little bit. He had a bad foot. So what he was doing going to the Rizal with a bad foot, I don't know. Maybe we'll see that they need to pray. So all of a sudden a person coming up the other way, he happened to be our leading Misnagi, a leading non-Hasid. He was coming up the other way, and he said to him, what are you doing with a bad foot? Or he said something to him like that. And so my Talmud had just learned in Chassidus a thing that was very similar to what we just said. And he said to him in Yiddish, "Mir darf mamshich sein von der Kopf in der Fuß." You have to be mamshich from the head into the foot. That's what he said to this Mishnah. So the Mishnah got very angry, and he said that the word mamshich is a Kabbalah word. And he said, you're not supposed to learn any Kabbalah. It was a little gorge about Tshuva. You're not supposed to learn any Kabbalah. You have to learn only Nikla. And he started shouting at him, carrying on. So my Talmud was just completely thunderstruck. And he said, but why didn't you pay attention to what I said to you? I said to you, I have to bring down from the head into the foot, that your head has to be chassidus, just like your foot has to be chassidus, just like your head. That's all I wanted to say. A few days later, I get a phone call in my house that this guy had been around. He'd found out who Gaffney is, and he'd found out about the program in the Yeshiva in Kwachabad, and he phoned me up, and he said, you must not teach, and he shouted at me, he said, you must not teach these boys Kabbalah expressions. He said, the word mamshich is a Kabbalah expression. I said to him, excuse me, what did he say to you? So he said, mit darf mamshich sein von der Kopf in der Fuß. So I said, well, did you listen to what he said? Exactly what the Bocher said to him. That's I said to him, please have a good day, and, have your Kabbalah expressions, gesundheit, or just pay attention to what they say. All right. So what that's got to do with it, I don't quite remember. But anyway, so Omarav, Acha, Omarav. Oh yes, Lahaki's dam. Yeah, Lahaki's dam. Yeah, Niknes Lahaki's dam. Somebody who's going in to get somebody to let blood from him in order to heal him. Oimer, a prayer. Yes, say a prayer to Hashem. Yehirotzin Mefanecha, Hashem Elokai. That this business, this ASIC that I'm getting into, should be for me for a refuah. But Tilpoeni, and you should heal me. Tilpoeni, you should heal me. Ki el roife neman ato. Urufuah emes. Because you are a deity that heals. Your healing is truthful. So why would he have to say something like that? Why does he have to speak longer? Richez? Lefi she'ein darchen shel bnei adam l'rafes. It's not the way of people to go and heal themselves at all. Ela shenagu. That's the way the minhag has become. That's what Ravacha says. And therefore, you have to pray to Hashem, and you have to say, look, even though I'm going in to take this medical act, I shouldn't really be doing this, but Avrahmanis, you send me the healing. You're really the one that heals, and you should send me the healing, but what can I do? People do this, so I'm doing it. I'm going in, and therefore he calls it Ashik there. It's just a funny sort of a business, but what can I do? And you should heal me. So that was ein dagen shel bnei adam. It's not the right thing to really be doing. That's the way they did it. That's the minhag. Omar Abaye comes along Abaye and he says, Lo yilema ini shvachi. Don't teach a man to say anything like that. And he should not say such a prayer. Ella, what does Abaye say? Where are we? The Tanya Rabbi Shmuel. We learned in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, the Rofei Yirapei, that's our pasuk. Mikan, from this pasuk we learn, Shenitna Roshus Loreife Lerapis. From here we learn that there's been given permission to a doctor to heal. So therefore, it's perfectly right what he's doing, because the Torah has given permission that a doctor can heal. So I thought the shadow, what is the machlekes here? What are they differing about? So it would seem that Rav Acha says that really, if you get sick or if anything happens to you, that's all from Hashem, and therefore Hashem has to look after. Everything's hashgacha, and therefore Hashem has to look after. You have to know that Hashem is going to heal you. He's going to do it. It's like a bit of a genevische minhag, people sort of, they go in and they take these refuahs. We shouldn't really be doing it. You are doing it. You have to make clear in your prayer that you're only really praying to Hashem. You're not really relying on HaKodesh Dam. Now, Pai says, what says? Don't tell people to do that. Don't tell them to say such a prayer, because the Torah itself says that it's a permission for a doctor to heal. He's got permission to do so. Who gave him permission? The Torah, the Eibishter. Abaya seems to be saying that the Torah says that you've got to take action to heal yourself if something happened to you. If that's the case, why does he say Reshus? Nitin Reshus l'revla. Reshus means it's a permission. You can do it if you want. So if you're a doctor, why shouldn't you heal? Why is it only a permission? Why wouldn't it be a mitzvah? I mean, to heal a person who's sick? He's been damaged. So it would appear that Abaya says that you can do it, I'll be Torah, but it didn't really get into the level of a emes mitzvah. It still remains like a reshut. Why? Ask yourself the question on the part of the intelligent reader. Why would that be the case? If he disagrees with Rav Acha, and he says the Torah does allow you to heal by way of teva with refuahs, then make it into a positive thing. Make the doctor feel good about it. He says, oh no. Yeah, the doctor can do it, and the Torah says you can do it. It's not like a geneva shema. You can do it, but it only remains a permission. Ask yourself the question, why is that? So in order to understand those questions, we need to take a bit of a look into this whole theme, Al Pitera, and see what conclusion we can come to. So, as usual, in all Inyanim, it's a tremendously broad theme in Inyanim Torah. So I'm only going to give the main chapter headings. So it comes along the Ibn Ezra, the Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra. What's well known that he was the most unbelievable Chacham, and he was also very, very much into all the natural sciences, and he also was very brilliant in them. And so was the Rambam. The Rambam was a doctor, as is well known, and so was the Rashba. The Rashba was also a doctor. We might mention him briefly also, but the Rambam we're certainly going to get on to shortly. Comes along the Ibn Ezra, and he says, Emes, the reshus has been given to a doctor to heal. But what sort of thing is this talking about? Well, you've got a macha from the outside. You've got a clap from this other guy, this enemy, or whoever he was he quarreled with. He damaged an outside part of your body. That's what the Torah says, Rapoy Yira. The outside shell, the outside keli has been damaged. Cholila, it might let in all sorts of foreign infections, could happen. Under those circumstances, the doctor was given permission to the doctor was given permission to heal. But he said in inside things inside the body, but they were not caused mibachutz, they were caused inside your body. He said that you're not allowed to go to a doctor. That you have to, he says you have to just pray to Hashem, and you have to rely on the fact that Hashem will heal you. Because who gave it to you? Hashem gave it to you. So since He gave it to you, therefore He will look out. And that takes us to the Gemara in Baba Kama, but the Bari brings the same thing, because it deals with all the dinim of somebody who hits another person, all the different things he has to pay. It's an expensive business. He has to end up paying all sorts of things if you damage somebody with your fist or something like that. So the Gemara brings over there the same drosh, and it brings that Rapoi Yirapoi Melamed Mikan Sheniten Roshus Lorefa, that the doctors got permission to heal. Comes along Rashi over there, and Rashi says, what's the chiddush? Why should you heal? So Rashi says, a person shouldn't say Hashem mocho v'Hashem masei. Hashem hid and Hashem will heal. You don't have to say that. And therefore you can heal. You don't have to say that since Hashem did it, therefore He has to look after it. But it's okay, even though Hashem did it, it's okay for you to come and actually straighten it out. But you might have thought maybe not. And therefore the Gemara learns it from that drosh. And therefore it's Mashmi and Rashi that we learn from the double loshen. Rapoi would have been that you've got to pay the money or whatever expenses may have been involved in. He's getting better. You have to pay. Rapoi, Yirapoi means that you can actually do the healing. It's a inim for the doctor to do the healing. And Rashi says you don't say that since Hashem did it, leave it up to Hashem. Everything's Hashgacha Pratia. How that happened to you through somebody else, that's his problem. Come over and all the dinim and nazikin, you would do it because it happened to you as a sign from heaven. It was meant to happen. But he didn't have to be the shliach. This guy didn't have to be the shliach. Nobody told him to be the shliach. He made his own choice. So he's got to face the music. Of it was due to happen to you anyway. In case says Rashi, it's due to happen to you anyway. Hashem's doing it to you. No, you're allowed to get doctors in, and they're allowed to sort of come in the middle. Coming along to Ishavez over there, and to Ishavez, here in Brochus, Teis doesn't say anything. Although there in Baba Kama, Teis says a thing which is similar to Rashi, but it's a bit different. As well known, Teis never says the same thing as Rashi, even though sometimes it looks as if he does, but he doesn't. One of the reasons that Teis wrote their Pirush on the Gemara is that they wanted to differ, they felt necessary to differ with Rashi. And the Teis says, wait a minute, and the fact that happened to you is a sign that Min HaShamayim, it was Nigzar Alecha, it was what he called a Gezerah from heaven, that had to happen to you. If it was a Gezerah from heaven, you can't interfere with Hashem's Gezerah. Hashem was Gezer. But you had to have that. If you go to a Reifa, you're asking the Reifa to interfere with Hashem's Gezerah. Therefore, I might have thought, you can't do that. Since Hashem did it, then you have to pray to Hashem that He should be mevatel the gezerah. You have to do something that will be mevatel the gezerah. Or not to go to somebody and ask him to interfere with Hashem's inyanim. Or if I do something to be mevatel, give a heck a lot of stock, pray, do something. To win Hashem's favor, and He'll be mevatel the gezerah. A man said, there's a spiel with all when he said, Maas, and making you better. I mean, who said you can do that? No, says too. That's the chiddush of the Gemara. The chiddush is that you are allowed to do. So there's a certain similarity in Rashi, but it's a different angle. Rashi just says, I might have thought since the whole thing came anyway, they're like, it was a divine thing, that the Eibusha will do it. So he says, no, it's a gezerah. If it's a gezerah, who are we to interfere with it? But now we'll come back to that case a little bit further along, because we could suggest that the Rambam, he learnt something similar to Teza, but a different little drag. However, says the Ibn Ezra, it's Mamish Apile. The Ibn Ezra says, no, but things which are inside, you're not allowed to, you have to turn only to Hashem. In other words, the Ibn Ezra would differ with Rashi. And he would say, no, since Hashem did it, Hashem's got to take it away. Or like Teisavus, you can do something to see that Hashem will be Vatlis Geseder. Or you can't go to Refuah. And that's why he says that over here it's written, he's a big grammatician. It says written Rapui Yirapeh with a pay, hard pay, how do you call it, a pay with a dagesh. But in all other places the word Refuah is written with a fake. So he said, why is it written in a tough language? Because it's not really glatic. If you have anything to do with refuahs, that's not really 100% glatic. You're not allowed to do anything. Oh, here's from the outside, something, your outside crust has been damaged. Oh, even that's it's just like a hard thing in front of us. It's not the grammatic usage of the word. As is not the pillar. So I found that Rabbeinu Bechaye says exactly the same thing. It's rare, but I found that Rabbeinu Bechaye, he writes that the whole thing is because it's on the outside, and since it happened on the outside and happened sort of at you quarreling or something, you're allowed, but they're a crutch, just sort of, how do you call it, cover over the hole and hope that everything will be right. But anything more than that, you're not allowed to do. Anything on the inside of your body, comes along the Ramban, and the Ramban goes even further. This is a very famous Ramban. So you better tell people that you're a famous Ramban. But it is. People know about it, even though their eyes jump out a little bit, but not here, but over in Pasham B'chukoisai, where it says everything will, if you do the Torah and mitzvahs, then everything will find, you'll have everything, all the fields, you give all the fruits, and all the brachas at the beginning of Pasham B'chukoisai, at the end of Vayikra. So the Ramban says all these things are not natural, the land will give everything, it'll be chasing, all the crops will be so powerful that you won't finish with one crop and you'll have all the other crops following it up. And he says, whatever country really follows, nobody really functions that way. I never see that. He said, it's all Ma'aseh Nisim. It's all a promise that if you keep the Torah in perfection, that the whole world and the nature will just run after you. If you keep Torah mitzvahs, Ein lecho malach shosh klal klal. Not from anything. Not from parnasa, not from, and he said, not from all that, not from sickness, not from anything. He said, you can't possibly get sick if you do what the Eibishter says, and you follow Torah and mitzvahs, the Eibishter will look after you, and he'll keep you gesund and everything fine, else with the darst, and it'll all chase one after the other. And he said, why does people go to doctors? So he said, they're not persuaded. He said, the fact that people go to doctors, because they're not really devoted to Hashem the way they should really be. They're really devoted to Hashem, and they're really doing Hashem's mitzvahs, and they're really botel to Him, and they've given their will away to Hashem and everything. They wouldn't need to go to doctors. That's what the Torah says. The whole nature is tied up with Torah and mitzvah. And therefore he said, why is this thing written here? It's written Rapoi Yirapeh. And the Gemara says there, Ditan Reshus L'Orei V'Le Rapeh. So the Ramban said, look at the beginning. It's written if two people are quarreling. He said, what sort of people quarrel? What sort of people schlagen them? Einer die andere, they're a show. He said, einer lifts up his hand auf another place, Holy Russia. Schlagt einer die andere. He said, this is nicht normale Menschen. That's not normal people. So he said, normal people like that, they think they've got to go to Dr. Zeicher. Let them go. I come into bed and the guy said, cost me money. So the Rebbe says, okay, you're the Chacham that hit him, so pay up. Pay up. I mean, that normale Menschen hit one another and punch and beat one another up. They do it. He said, on the contrary, I should beat another yid. He said, you have to just be tolerant and bottled completely to Hashem. If you just completely bottled to the Ebsen, you just look after you won't get sick for crowd. That's what the Pasuk Elder told me is ideal. It's utopia. Where is utopia? Only if you're absolutely devoted to the Ebsen. If you keep the Ebsen completely, then you're me. Chasidov, says the Ramban, you're from the Chasidim of the Ebsen, then he looks after you. So over there, the Ramban says a very amazing cloud, which that brings the Rebbe in a famous kuntres where the Rebbe spoke about Hashgacha Pratis. The Rebbe gets up on that Ramban, he deals with it. Barichas, that the Ramban says that if you're a chassid of the Eibishter, you're really devoted to him, you're really absolutely devoted to his will, he looks after you, and you have a special Hashgacha Pratis. A special Hashgacha Pratis, and he said the Eibishter will run all of your inyan, and you won't have any bayot, and the Eibishter will look after you completely. He said, however, if you're not completely, and you go a little bit and you say you want the world a bit, and you want this, and you want this, Dave said, okay, you want? Okay. Take the world. So the world runs al piteva. So you also have to run al piteva. The Hashgacha Pratis is shvacha by you. You should get into teva. Now, you're a little bit given to things that could happen. And that's what appears at the Ramban saying. In other words, that he says, like very special people, they have Hashgacha Pratis b'kol Other people who are not so, they don't have. That's what it appears that he's saying. So the Rebbe says that according to Baal Shem, the Rebbe really gets, and the Rebbe wants to show that really the Ramban means that even by other people it's also Hashgacha Pratis, but they don't realize it, and they're not aware of their Hashgacha. They don't live the Hashgacha. Or somebody who's a Emes and Chassid, he sees how every prat is really there. And the more he devotes himself to the Eibishter, the more he sees that all the Gashmis follows and everything is totally and eloquent. Other people just don't see it. But why they don't see it? Because they get involved in the teva, and teva means like a harem. And therefore, since it's a harem, they don't realize that everything is Hashgacha Pratis. They think that the doctor healed them. And he brings to which a pasuk in Divrei Hayomim, the pasuk in Divrei Hayomim, talking about one of the kings of Yehuda who was called Asa. It's interesting because the word Asa means, in Aramic, it means refuah. His name was Asa, and he ruled for quite a number of years in Jerusalem. He was a king over Eretz. And it's written that in his latter life he got a problem with his feet. He got a very bad sort of problem in his feet that he couldn't walk properly. And it's written that gradually it spread to other parts of his body as well, and he passed away. So the Gemara says, he didn't turn to Hashem, but he turned over to the doctors. And the Father Ramban brings that the pasuk, and he said, you see, if you turn only to the doctors, you get the doctors. Whatever they're worth, that's what you get. But if you do it, it's just Hashem. If Asa would have had seichel, he would have gone only to Hashem. Hashem's got a problem. Hashem can fix it up. Yeah, had he caught bekalut, it could be fixed up. I say something to Ramban. I'm going to just a politische Sache. The Ramban was up doctors. If you're an Ehrlich Yid and you really believe and you're really devoted, and you really keep mitzvahs, and you do everything Hashem wants, you can do doctors. You want to get out of things, you want to throw yourself under nature, and you want to slog other people, and you want to get involved in the world and be a sort of a wilde mensch, to use the expression, so wild that you even come to the point of quarreling and slogging. You have to meet up with doctors, and you have to pay their fees and all that. Okay. That came to be a Rambam. So everybody's eyes show stuff. So we see that the Ebenezer went halfway. The Ebenezer said things on the outside you can't go to. Things on the inside doesn't need. No way. And the Ramban says you should go for anything. The Ramban said, why do these guys go to the doctors? These guys already went out of the whole thing. They left Hashem. They left him behind. So they went in there again. So I found something similar to the Ramban. There's a very great Achron. This will bring us to a sort of a maskana. There's a very great Achron that he wrote a Pirush on the Ebenezer. He calls himself the Abi Ezri. In other words, the Ebenezer, like my father, I'm writing a Pirush on his. It's just called the Abi Ezri. I'm not so sure what you can probably look it up in the beginning of the Chumash exactly what his name was, but he was you can see from what he writes that he was a Goan Otzum. You see that Mamish pretty place. So he says, what does the Ebenezer want? And he goes somewhat in the Shitta of the Ramban, but he says it very powerfully. And he says that all improper things that happen to people in life by way of surprise and things like that, they didn't anticipate and it happened, and the old Zachen, that's all because you weren't maspeak davuk in Hashem. Or if you were really mamish davuk in Hashem, Hashem will after you. And he says that's why it's brought down when they get to the soldiers that went out to the war. They used to call out anybody who's not this and not that, and he should go back. If he's got the slightest sin or something like that, he should clear out. And the guys who actually went out to war were like perfect people. They were people that really were davek in Hashem. Therefore, by the Milchemes Midian, it's written that Loi Nifkat Mimenu Ish, they beat the whole Midian, they fought the whole Midian, and there wasn't one soldier was killed. They stayed in the Torah. And in the 6-day war, the amount of soldiers who were actually hurt or killed in the 6-day war, considering what went on, and considering what they anticipated would happen, was very minimal. It was very, very little damages on the whole. And other such things, when there was a big amount of emunah at that time, people were really praying with a tremendous. That's when the Rebbe came out with Mibtzat Tefillin. He had all these sounds of people putting on tefillin all over the place, and the soldiers were putting on tefillin. All of a sudden, you see all these unbelievable things. And this the thing they had down in Azaz, what Rahman in Itlan, the crazy people that so-called lead this country stopped it in the middle, and they brought it to a ruin. It could have been a great victory, but they made it into a ruin. There was a huge assailance amongst the soldiers towards religion. It's well known. And there's almost no casualties. As far as I know, almost no casualties in the whole thing. So we see that the Aviyazri has a point. And he says, where people are mamish dovuk in Hashem, and they believe in that with all their teikah or emunah, he said, nothing unusual or surprising out of the way will happen to that people. If it does, he said, well, that's the sign that they must have somewhere or another dropped a little bit in their emunah, excepting for rare cases where mamish, it's a gezeira min hashamayim, that like on the cloud, for example, the shoya. And there was a huge tzaddikim that were killed by the Nazis. And you can't say whatever, it was because they had not have enough devices in there. So he says, what are the terrible gzera kol haklal ze kwa mashvach. So he says that the more you're dovik in Hashem, the more you're looked after in all fields of life. The Avezi. He said that's what the Ibn Ezra means. And he brings an Ibn Ezra in another place, but there's a mistake and I can't find it. There's a mistake in the print. I can't find the other Ibn Ezra. I couldn't find it there. I mean, if I looked, I'd find, but just for this class, I didn't find it yet. It's a matter of days that according to him, there's a whole new amazing cloud that everything's dependent in your Vedas Hashem. If you're devoted to Hashem, and therefore he says that you can't really get sick. That if you do, it's because you dropped off a little bit of your kashrus with the Avesti, you sort of dropped off a little bit. But if you do tshuva and you pray to him and you come back and you're mahadar and a mitzvah, so if Dave's look after you, it'll all just drop away and you'll be back to full strength without any problems, etc. etc. Amazing how he is. So, unfortunately, I was looking in my house for the sefer and I couldn't find it. I got it, but I can't find it. There's a sefer was written by a Talmud of the Maggid, not such a well-known Talmud, Ramizvich Maggid, and his name was Uziel. His first name was Uziel, and his second name was Meizlish. And you got to Rom Meizlish. You got to. It's a very miyuchastic family. The Meizlish are very miyuchastic people. So Avram Meizlish, he's probably somehow or another, because there was another Meizlish who was a big chassid of the Alter Rebbe, Rav Moshe Meizlish. He was that was Meizler. But I think it's the same thing as Meizlish. It's the same thing. It's a big mishpat. It's a big miyuchastic mishpat. And he was called Uziel Meizlish. So he wrote a sefer called Tiferes Uziel, and he says an amazing thing. According to the Ramban and those who go in that derech, it's written: Im yokum vishalek b'chutz. If he will get up and he'll go on the outside. So he says, what does it mean he goes on the outside? He puts himself outside the Hashgacha Pratis. He doesn't really believe in Hashgacha Pratis 1,000%. He's not really dog in Hashem. And he's got a little bit of his own part of it. He's out there a little bit. He's on the outside. He said, he will need a doctor. He said, I meant was a mamish on the inside. He's much closer to our time than the Ramban. I mean, sorry. He was a Talmud of the Maggid. I think he was by the Maggid later than the Alter. I don't know if it could be he knew the Alter. I mean, he certainly heard of the Alter. That's sicher. Upon him, he says, as we go outside, a similar thing by the Milchemes HaMalek in Pasha B'Shal 2 weeks ago. It's written that Moshe said to Yeshua, "Tzei v'hilochem ba'Amalek." He said to Yeshua, "Go out and fight Amalek." So Rashi says, "What's that? Go out? Go out from where?" So Rashi says, "Tzei michutz la'onan." Go outside the cloud, because all those who were under the onan, nobody could get to them. Not Amalek, not anybody. Those who were under the Avish's cloud that followed the Yidden around the whole time. If you're underneath the Onan, not Amalek, not anybody could get you. You stepped outside the Onan, Misalech, Bachutz, then you got to fight. You got Amalek, you got to fight a war, you got to do this. That's what Mefurish Rashi. He said, we see that these people really meant business. They, Mamish, and the Ramban, The whole Yiddishkeit stands on the Ramban. The Ibn Ezra, the Rabbeinu B'chaya. Amazing. Comes along the Rambam. And everybody looks in the Rambam and they want to find where's it written in the Rambam, V'rapoi Yirapei, Malamed Shenitan Rishus L'Aroi V'Larapet. You look through a whole Mishnah Torah from the beginning to the end, and you won't find that the Rambam brings that drop. That it's a reshus for the Reifa to be Larapis, and you have to pay him 2 cents. You don't find it. You don't find it anywhere in the whole Rambam. So everybody said, we should do it. Why doesn't Rambam himself as a doctor? Why doesn't he bring it? So the Rambam drops a hint. He's got a way over in his Pirush on Mishnayos in Nedorim. All places. We're in the middle of nowhere. In a Pirush on a Mishnah in Masechta Nedorim. All of a sudden the Rambam says, if somebody's sick, what do you do with him? You have to get a doctor to heal him. And he says, mitzvahs asay min ha-Torah ala roife letapel b'refuah asay. It's a mitzvah min ha-Torah that the roife should look after. He said, of course, because it's written in this week's parsha that if you find somebody's got a lost thing, somebody lost something, and you find it, then you got to give it back to him. You have to return it to him immediately. So he says that if somebody lost his health and you can give it back to him, you got to do it. And he said, if somebody's losing his whole health and he's rachmanin and klan, he's in a danger of sakonas mavis rachmanin and klan, how much greater the mitzvah? The whole his life is being lost, and you can give it back to him. Eze mitzvah yoyse godel me mitzvah. So Rambam says a dove pasha. Why do you have to look after somebody? So therefore, some people want to say that Vishul said the Rambam doesn't bring this whole business with Rafoi Yirapei, because he also says it's a pshita. Move it. Now you might say, well, how can he hold that a Gemara is a pshita? I mean, every Gemara tells us something. So I saw, I looked up in a sefer, but he's got a Pirush on brachas, and he brings down a Teisha Shishayim, an old Teisha. That's one of the Teisha Shishayim, and there were other Balei Teishas which weren't included in the Teishas of Shas. And he brings down Teisha Shishayim, and they ask the same kasha, and they say pshita, rapoi yirapei, and they say lama, hashi picked what the Rambam says. And I don't know if the Rambam even saw the Teisha Shishayim. It's an old thing that they found. It's more from Tzarfas, and the Rambam wasn't in Tzarfas. Al-Chapanim, and I said, over there, pshita, why do you have to help him? You have to give him back his Aveda. This is a pshita, obvious. And even the Teisha Shishayim adds another one. And he said there's a pasuk which says you're not allowed to stand and watch another person die. Lo yisamed al dam reyacho. You're not allowed to stand and watch another person die. You've got to do everything to save him. It's a mitzvah min ha-Torah to heal somebody. This is our shoes. So therefore he said, Im Kain, says the Teisha Shishayim, what does the Gemara mean by saying Rapoi Yirapei? He says that means to say that you can pay him his chab, because you might tell him, listen, you got a mitzvah anyway. It's a mitzvah in the Torah to look after me. I have to pay you for a mitzvah. And if Rapoi Yirapei, that's what the Gemara says. That's talking about paying. That's what Rashi is talking about, paying the reward of the of the doctor, paying the reward of the doctor. That's kufi. The other chiddush which is inside Rapoi Yirapei, that you might be able to say to the doctor, listen, you had to heal me anyway. You had to help me. The mitzvah says a minah. The mitzvah says a minah. Torah. I have to pay you for it. So you're not supposed to earn from a mitzvah. So you know the whole problem about people who blow shafers and then they take money for it and they read in the Torah, they take money, and all these people take money for doing all sorts of mitzvahs. There's some of the great Achronim Shrei Gewalt, they're taking money, those stuff. And yet a lot of people have parnasa from these chazonim. They daven the whole Tishrei body on it, and they have parnasa the whole year. They get paid a portion of $1,000 for them, and they live most of the year from what they daven by the Omer. You don't take money for a mitzvah. So, we'll soon see.
When we do Ifsaim, people give us money.
Yeah. If they give it to you, they're giving stock. And they're not paying you for having put on. They're giving stock to the Chabad. I drove there from the reason I'm saying this whole shuttle is I was by a doctor. So on my way back I was driven by a guy and he was so thrilled he thought I was from Chabad. He was talking the whole time what a wonderful thing that Chabad is, the Rebbe is the leader of the whole tree. I didn't tell him anything. He was telling me. He was telling me what the Rebbe is. So I said to him in the end, I said in a quiet way, you're telling me what the Rebbe is? I said, I spoke to the Rebbe at least 7 times in personal interview. He just almost drove the car over the other side of the road. He couldn't believe it. He said, you spoke to the Rebbe? I said, oh yes I did. So there's an effect on people. People are beginning to wake up. What's going on? I'm in Mavish. I didn't say anything though. I just said we're going to Kfar Chabad. Once he heard Kfar Chabad, he started with Chabad. He's very talkative. So they give stock for Kfar Chabad. They don't know what Kfar Chabad and Chabad. They don't think it's all the same. They give stock. They don't pay you for putting on to them. So they come to us. I said, how do these people take money? So that's what the Rambam says. Those are the chiddush that you are allowed to take money. Why are you allowed to take money? So the answer is that there's a sikha. I didn't see the sikha, but it's a mamzas kocha pratis. I was talking to a young man in Bnei Brak the other day, and he told me, Masik lefi tumei. He started to be talking. He's seen the sikha for the Rebbe. And I asked him, where is it? He said it's written in some place or other. He didn't actually see it inside, but he saw it brought in a plate. So the Rebbe says like this, according to what he told me. That the Rebbe says that the Rambam holds that it's a mitzvah saseh to heal somebody. So he said, what's the midrapoi yirapei? So apparently the Rebbe says that there's another problem. That is, he's not allowed to learn chokhmas chitonias. According to the Torah, you're not supposed to learn other wisdoms, only the Torah. You're not allowed to learn science. Only Torah. That's just it. The Alter Rebbe brings at the end of Periches in Tanya that the Rambam and the Ramban, they learn it in order to serve the Eivester, or you learn it purely for your parnasa. You learn it purely for your parnasa. So the Rebbe says, that a mensch wants to be a doctor, he has to learn it. He's got to study a lot of things. That's a lot of effort and strain that he's put into his life. Mishum zeh, you can pay him for all that effort. That he's giving you the benefit of all the effort he put in. But once he's got all of that, then he's got a mitzvah to look. He's got a mitzvah to look after you. Because the Rambam says it's a mitzvah sesamina. Not to you know. And therefore the Rambam doesn't bring no in for Rapoi Yirapei. Because the Rambam himself was a doctor. And he knows you put in all the effort. As if people want to pay you, you're allowed to take money. I don't know if the Rambam took very much money. The truth is, some stories have it that he was the king's advisor, and he had a sufficient income to be SSAs from that, but therefore he didn't want to take money. But some people gave him, and I think he took them. Yeah. And some of the great other Torah scholars did it for Parnasa. And Lefise, and the Rambam brings a whole new picture, and according to the Rebbe, that the whole Indian from Rafoi Rapai is that he's given permission, and now it'll be good. Not reshus. If you want, you're not mechuyev, but if you want to, you can learn Rafoi. You're not supposed to, al pi Torah, but if you want to, it's okay, because you're doing it in order to prepare yourself to be able to carry out a mitzvah. Once you've made that preparation, then you're mechuyev to give your knowledge in order to help another person not die. Al tamid al dara, or hashiv, give him back what he lost. Need. Why do you pay him? Because he put in a lot of effort. To regulate questions in that. So therefore, for each tircha, for all the effort, magilo, sacha. As a male nimtzul, he said, the Rambam goes to the other extreme. The Ramban and the Ibn Ezra, they say, leave doctors out of it. Well, good doctors, but me. And that's what we saw by that first opinion in the Gemara. He said it's just some people who know that they're schwache mensen, they don't really believe that. They said they have to say a prayer that shows that it's really the Abish, isn't it? That's Rabbi Achan. Bias says, no, what's bias? Don't tell people to say that. So it's kilo that in history we see developing two shittas. We see like the shitta the Ramban and the Rabbeinu Bechaya and the Ibn Ezra, but they tend to go kind of more like what Ravacha said, that it's a Ganevi Shemaisa to go and heal yourself by a doctor. And biases were saved. Well, I'll tell people to even say a prayer like that. It's not a right prayer. He said, according to Abaya, it's a good thing. But even Abaya doesn't say it's mamsha mitzvah says a mina. This is a chiddush from the Rambam when he goes so far. Aber it's mishkabel ala das, and therefore it's not to be found that he really brings all in from the drosha of the Gemara, because he holds not a reshus, he holds not a mitzvah. The reshus is only if you want, you can learn. And you get into the whole tircha of finding out how to heal people. When it comes to it, you're mechuyev al pi Torah to do. What day? It's like two great extremes. So we find that our Rebbeim, for example, our Rebbeim all the time, they took refuahs and they visited doctors. The Mittler Rebbe had doctors looked after him, and they tried to help and all the rest of it. And we find by all the Rebbe. And the Rebbe, when the Rebbe was sick, they had doctors. Dr. Weiss helped the Rebbe tremendously during the heart attack and the whole thing. So we see that. So I saw there's another question of ourselves here. Why is it written always that Nitan Reshus la Roife la Rapes? What about the man himself? What about the patient? He doesn't have to look after himself. It's only the doctor that has to do it. In other words, the doctor has a permission to heal you. What about you? So I saw a sefer also from another Talmud from the Maggid, the Erech L'Chaim, but he was the Adim, he was the son-in-law of the Pinchas Bala Flor. He was a very big, and he was a Talmud, a young Talmud. It could be saw the Alter, but he wouldn't have known him very well. And he says like this, and he says, why is it the Gemara stresses that it's a roife and it's a reshus? What about you? I mean, as the person, aren't you mechuyev to look after yourself? Aren't you mechuyev to heal yourself? Why is it only the doctor? The Gemara says it's only the doctor. So he says that that's a dover move on, that the mensch himself is mechuyev to look after himself, betachlis, that he shouldn't come to any illness at all. And that's written in the Torah, Mishpatim Shvat, you have to look after yourself very, very careful that you must not become sick. And he brings down, what is it, Tzavos Rivosh. Well, that's from the Baal Shem Tov. And the Shem Tov writes over there that a mensch must guard his body, because if he doesn't, you remember the famous story with the Maggid, what the Maggid told his son, that about Roma Malach, on his bed, when he was just about to leave the world. The Maggid said to him, a klein lechel in guf is ein groß lechel in the neshama. A small hole in the body is a big hole in the neshama. And about Shem Tov said, oh, if you're schwach and you don't have any koach, you can't daven and you can't learn the way you should. He says, in countries, if you're not well, you're taking away from your Avodas Hashem. You're lessening what you're supposed to do, al pi Torah. So he said, it's a mitzvah kipshutei ala adam, v'achiyuv ala adam, lishmeir skufa. And to look after himself. And so he brings that parich in these darshan and that whole Indian, that if you don't look after yourself, you're deliberately taking away from your ability to serve Hashem, which means that you're damaging your Torah image. The famous letter from the Friedrich Rebbe, it's brought down the back of the Torah. Look it up. When it says a big long letter in Yiddish from the Friedrich Rebbe, and he begins with the expression, a Yid muss sein gesund. That's how he starts off. A Yid muss sein gesund. A Yid has to be healthy. And he's got this whole big Musar letter to this person, he must look after himself. How much the Friedrich Rebbe look after himself, I don't know. But anyway, if a Rebbe is concussions, it's one on cloud. You don't ask your kashes of Rebbe's. Of ordinary people, you ask kashes. It's tough. And if a made an intellectual say that a mensch himself, the patient, he bevadai has to look after himself. He's sicher. If there occurs a puncture and something's not right, then there's a doctor. So then the doctor, he's only got a reshus, as it were. If he wants, he can heal. If he doesn't want to have to do it, he say, go to another. Nicht mehr. I don't want to take according to the Rambam. Well, no. The Rambam says if somebody comes to you and you can, you've got to do it. So what's the middle point? It comes along the Taz. You heard of the Taz? You guys have learned the Taz. A very famous Taz. The Taz is the most unbelievable arguer. He sort of puts forward these very convincing cases in his way of being Muslim against them. The Shach is tremendously sharp. The Shach pulls everybody down. Well, the way the Taz builds up an argument is very beautiful. Anyway, the Taz says, we have to say that there's some sort of like middle point. So the Taz says that this is sicher that everybody's right. Everybody's got a point. And he said, however, after Abaya said what he did, then it's become clear that the Torah does allow you and even wants you. And in a case where you're not a perfect person, like the Ramban paints, and you know that you're not, and the Torah knew that not everybody's perfect. That's what the Taz said. And therefore, it's even a mitzvah, both for Roifa and for you. As I said, the Taz. It's even a mitzvah for both. But, he said, why does the Gemara say it's only a reshus? Because you shouldn't really. In other words, the Taz dances on both classes. He said, for most people, it is. But since there are people like the Ramban, and there are people who can hold by that, then you've got to know that ultimately it's only a reshus. Because if you were really perfect, maybe you wouldn't have to have the whole thing. He said, but nowadays, he said, you shouldn't play around, and if there's any sign of any illness, you should go to a doctor. As is at al pi Torah, you should go. As is at the Taz. That'll be like a beer, and that'll be like a hezbollah. Why, nowadays, the Gedolim Israel, even the great Rabbeim, do look for doctors, even though they know that deep inside, it's really Hashem. You know what the Taz says? That it's not a stira. That therefore people pray for a person that he should get well, even they know he's going to doctors. None of they pray and shrey in the Bati Knesses and everything that he should be well. So it's not a stira anymore. It's not a stira. We're not on a Madrega the Ramban nowadays. Therefore, it's even a mitzvah for us. For us, for sure. It's a mitzvah for the Reifer. According to the Ramban, it's a mitzvah sesame in our Torah. At the same time, it's a mitzvah to pray to the Ayush. As if the Ramban is right, that's also. Yeah, everything is in the name of everything is from Hashem. And that's what Rabachis says. You have to say, Ata Hashem Tirpoin. You're really dying. So Kumtei says it's an amazing combination that really we do believe everything. On the one hand, we believe it's all in the hands of Hashem. On the other hand, there is an ultimate reshus al Torah, that the Reifa can help you. And the Rambam also is not a reshus. He also, it's Mamish HaMitzvah says Amin Torah, according to their politics, by Yeshainim, but they say Mamish bull as if it's the Rambam. Mamish bull. And we see all these different amazing nuances. So we have to say that the reason why the Rebbeim went to doctors in Mirov, the Anova, had the modesty of the Rebbeim, they didn't want to build themselves up like the Ramban and everything. They believed that they had to be like amongst the Klal, and they had to see doctors and all the things. But it's also mashma that they only took the doctors to a certain extent. If you look carefully, even by the Rebbe, when he had the heart attack and everything, he said a few times to Dr. Wise, he said to him, well, that's the way you say, but, For example, he asked Dr. Wise, how long does it usually take a person of my age who had this type of massive heart attack, how long does it take him to get over it? So Dr. Wise said, it's a year, 2 years, until you really come back to full strength. You have to look after it. So there was a year, there was a year or two. There was by me at the time, Be'ez Hashem, a sakicha. There was by me it's going to be a lot shorter. So he said,
What did the Rebbe say?
The Rebbe said it's going to be a lot shorter than that, So Dr. Weiss said, he said, Apol Chadoshim. It was a few months. So we see that on the one hand, the Rebbe did everything, and on the other hand, he didn't really, he was in charge, and he knew that so forth. So Kumtei said, according to that way of looking at it, the way the Ramban paints it, it's really in a way in your hands, and it's in the Avish's hands. It's in your hands how much you devote yourself to Hashem. Ultimately, it's up to Hashem. So, just to finish off the class, I just want to say that Chassidus points out many things. If you look at many Maimonic Chassidus, you'll see that your matzav Hagashmi is dependent on your matzav Haruchni. Many, many things that are brought in Chassidus, that according to how you're serving Hashem and how much you really believe, and how much you're really devoted, and how much you're really doing, what's the shlichus of our generation, and so on, that will help you to be gesund and have all the things you need. And Chassidus says, it's just like in Gashmis, like the Ebenezer things on the outside, there are certain fuahs. In Ruchnias, it's also the same, that if you do certain things, there are a fuah. Both in Ruchnias and ultimately in Gashmis. What the Gemara says in Masechta Yuma, Gedei l'tshuva shemevi refuah le'olam. Olam means the world. And the Gula Shleim is called a refuah. So Dokum Tais, Lafi said, that on the one hand, we've got to do certain things to bring the Gula. One of them is tshuva, to be better than you were. Zweitens is to do all the inyanim that the Rebbeim told us over the generations. Over now, holding with the Rebbe said, listen guys, those things have more or less been finished. All the different things you're supposed to do in your mind, it's all more or less, polishing the buttons and doing all these things. It's all, what's the Indian now? Bekabel Pnei Mashiach, to receive Mashiach. So it comes to say the Ika Avodah right now is to move into a new gear where you just completely and utterly like the Ramban. You say, we've done all the refuahs, done all the doctors' work on the world that we could. We're waiting for Mashiach. In other words, that in a very delicate way, we're passing it to Hashem. And we're saying we are now like the Ramban. And we say that you got to do it. It's your Indian. Like Rashi says, the Eivshter did it, the Eivshter's got to. And we go right back to the beginning of the clouds. And we say, listen here, Eivshter, enough. You've got to do it. Who says? Oh, he pointed to Rabbi and said, the Rabbi says. So the Eivshter says, the Rabbi says, we. I have to listen to Moshe Rabbeinu also. They state that the Eivshter have to listen to me. The Eivshter listen to Moshe Rabbeinu. I said, well, the Tzaddik Geizer of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Makanya. Eivshter listen to Moshe Rabbeinu. He's got to be an emes of Moshe Rabbeinu. So, I mean, the Rebbe hasn't proved himself. The Rebbe hasn't proved himself. He's an emes of Moshe Rabbeinu. Here's this taxi driver told me more about the Rebbe than I knew. We're saying, well, the Lubavitcher Rebbe is there, it's there. Kol Anashim Manichim Tfilin Berachov, it's there. And he was saying, when I told him that I'd spoken with the Rebbe, he almost drove the car over to the other, he almost ricocheted off the road. He said, Ken! As I make people realize, it's, how do you call it? It's in the air. The whole thing is in the air. So we're holding by this last, moment where we just got to be really, and that's by Bossi Legani, we're going to be crazy. Shtuz, the Kedusha. But it's not really Shtuz. That's really the emes of Aveda. The world calls it Shtuz. It looks to the world to be crazy. But what is crazy? You say, listen here, we're holding right by the Gula. Here we go. We're ready. Eivshter Shikimon. Here we are. Who said? The Rebbe said. Here we go. In other words, the people, as it were, the Eivshter wants to see that we really believe in our Rebbe. Eivshter wants to see that we really take him simply, and we take him seriously. We don't say, well, wait a minute, the Rebbe said all sorts of amazing things, but he didn't, take it, he didn't really mean it. It's an amazing thing that they wrote in the Beis Mashiach. It was written in the Beis Mashiach. I don't read these things, but I just happened to pick it up, and they took me home, and I saw this part. It's written there when the Noshim Chop Beis Shvat, Toshim Lonalo, the Noshim made a big kinnas, and it's a Noshim here from Kwachabad, that they were really hot liners. And they said they're going to make this on a Motzei Shabbos, and they're going to invite the Rebbe to come down, that they were going to be Makabelim as Melech Mashiach. So when the Rebbe came in, they were going to stand up and say, well, Makabelim was Melech Mashiach. And the Rebbe gave them tremendous brachas that they should make this kinnas and should have tremendous atzlacha. And they wrote a petty, the Mazmin, the Rebbe, Lekabel, the Malchus, L'Oredet Mata, because the Rebbe would never go down to a kinnas like that. He never went any more than such thing. They're inviting the Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach that he should come in. So the Herikot, the Maskirim, didn't give it in to the Rebbe. They refused to give it in to the Rebbe. Because they were frightened of what might happen. And the Rebbe didn't go down. The Rebbe didn't even know that it was happening until later. And then, there's an even further thing, that as a result of that, there's a lot of meetings were made throughout the world by Nash to receive, to work out ways to be Makabel the Rebbe's Mashiach. So they wrote a whole big duch to the Rebbe about these things that they were doing, these people. With a huge big envelope took right to the Rebbe. And at the same time there was a whole group of people in Eretz that they wrote to the Rebbe that they're choishes and this could be causing Achil Hashem Yirachim. They think that it should be quietened down. They're giving the Rebbe Eitzah that the whole thing should be quietened down. So they say that the Rebbe got had two envelopes on his table. He had the envelope saying that it could be a Chilul Hashem, Chas v'Shalom, and he had this envelope with all the reports of the people who were getting ready and working out how to be mamlik the Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach. So they said the Rebbe opened up the one with the saying it could be a Chilul Hashem. The Rebbe just glanced at it, he read it quick, and he just put it down straight on the table like that. And he sort of pushed it aside, and he picked up this one, and the Rebbe read Barichas, all the different duchos and everything, and he gave a tremendous bracha. That we should see a tremendous hatzlacha. He fragt by dear, what on earth is going on around here? Other titles. But you have to have a bit of seichel. You have to have a bit of seichel. So we have a bit of seichel. Hashem should help us. We have a bit of seichel. We just say, Shia Melech HaMashiach, for pastors. It doesn't make any sense. When Titus was machrit the base of Midas, that didn't make any sense. That didn't make any sense to anybody. The Mashiach is going to walk in right now to the world and bring the whole world to its fulfillment. That makes sense to anybody. Most people say, come around, But they don't anymore. That's the kid. He got arrived in this taxi driver. He didn't think it was Mashiach. And that's what we've got to do now. We've got to just say to people, just be Mekabel Melech HaMashiach, and just do it with pashtas. That's the refuah. Because all the other refuahs have been finished. We're holding now mamish by the Ramban. The Ramban says, all you got to do is just be dovek, all you got to do is just be dovek and Melech HaMashiach. Amen. Can you hear? Rotzen.